A few days ago, I released a video on NF Blast, and ENTP at Reddit asked, are there any vids like this for ENTPs? So I thought that I would make a video on how the ENTP's blast works, which is the SF blast. And this also applies to several different personality types. So ENTPs and INTPs are most likely to have SF blast in a demon state, although ISFJs can also have it if they are the jumper kind of ISFJ or if they are the jumper kind of ESFJ. Before we look at what SF blast is, it's important to look at what the parts of SF blast is composed of. And the first part is introverted sensing, which is an organizing function. It's organizing facts, organizing and labeling personal space. Things are personal, it's an action sequence, and it's sensory memory. The second part of SF blast is extroverted feeling, which is a tribe function. It also focuses on tribe values. Emotions are not personal. It's also sharing emotions. It's also being socially acceptable. It's focusing on harmony over authenticity. And if you're feeling good, then it works. So as you can see with extroverted feeling, they can see what the tribe values and they do their best to adhere to the tribe values. So what is SF blast? Well, SF blast is a combination of introverted sensing and extroverted feeling together. This is an extroverted animal. It's also used to get started. It's teaching the tribe on what values they need to adopt. It's controlling or guiding the tribe to act appropriately. It's bragging. It's telling the tribe on how they can feel better. It's enforcing harmony. It's enforcing or promoting socially acceptable behaviors. It's teaching the tribe on how to look good, whether that be you as a person or your home or any other physical space. So I want to use Hulk Hogan as an example because everyone knows who Hulk Hogan is. And he is an ESFJ with Savior Blast. And in this video, he is being inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame when he mentions his daughter and people start kind of catcalling at his daughter, who is only 16 years old. So Hulk Hogan tells the tribe that that is a socially unacceptable behavior and that they should stop.
Roddy Piper and I were married, thank God. Because we took the high road, we stayed with our families, we had a great time in this business, and then my daughter Brooke was born. Hey, watch it, brother. Hey, she's only 16 years old, man, take it easy. But anyway.
Now that you've seen what SF blast is in a savior state, we're now going to look at the SF and NT axis. Most importantly, this is the NT consume with the SF blast axis. So a lot of people with savior NT, such as the ENTP and INTP, might disrespect the SF. And even if they have a really good idea or system, then no one will care about the logic and idea if it's not cool or it doesn't sound good or look or feel good. So it's very important for those that has SF blast in a demon state to learn how to respect it so that people will take you seriously. I want to use Neil deGrasse Tyson as an example because he is an ENTP and ETI, consume, play, blast, sleep, double masculine, who has blast in a demon state, yet he has learned the importance of using SF blast. And in this video clip, he doesn't like it, but because he's around a lot of people who is savior TI, a lot of INTPs, ISTPs, he is forced to explain to them why the cool factor of humans going to the moon or to Mars is more important than the science itself, and that no one would take the science seriously without the cool factor coming in first.
Let me ask you a question. I find it... Okay, well, I'll ask you this question. When I see a picture from the rover, I'm more excited about it coming from the rover than if it came from an astronaut taking the picture, because the astronaut's using a camera, but the rover is taking it's part of the rover.
Let me tell you why that's probably not true, even though you think it is.
Okay.
Most people don't know that there were robots as well as rovers on the moon while we were first going to the moon. But you didn't know anything about those because the media focused on the astronauts. And it's the astronauts through which we gain vicarious access to space, because they have mouths, they have brains, they have a childhood memory, they have school teachers that can talk about those astronauts. And I've yet to see a ticker tape parade for a robot. So I submit to you that if at the same time the Curiosity rover landed, if at that same time a human astronaut landed on Mars, you would have known nothing about the Curiosity rover.
Yeah, but,
it would have been relegated to page 30, and the front page headlines would have been humans put footprints on Mars. And it's that force which will bring less science than the robot that has a power of influence on our culture that inspires an entire generation to want to do the same thing. My generation, when you ask my fellow scientists, should we send humans into space? No, that's too expensive, send robots. Yet I said, well, how did you get interested in space? Oh, because of the Apollo program. And I slap them. I'm saying, what are you...
No, that's it.
What you just said is a complete delusion. It presumes that we went to the moon for science. It presumes that we went to the moon to explore it. But that's not why we went to the moon.
Brother Neil, no, it is not. No, it is not.
We went to the moon because we were at war. Sputnik was not just some orbiting spacecraft. It was a hollowed out intercontinental ballistic missile where they took out the warhead and put in a radio transmitter. The military knew this. That's what founded NASA. NASA's budget for science has averaged over all these years about 25%. The rest has been for geopolitical purposes. All right? So it's the I don't want to die driver in this world. That's why we spent all this money. And so the moment we learn Russia's not going to the moon and it's certainly not going to Mars, we cancel the program. It had nothing to do with public interest.
Now that you've seen how Neil deGrasse Tyson uses SF Blast in a demon state, you can now practice using SF Blast. So how do you practice using SF Blast? First, you can tell the tribe to play nice. So if you are a parent and your kids are running around causing problems, then you can tell them to play nice by using SF Blast. You can also teach people how to dress nice or appropriately. So for example, if you have a friend or loved one that is going to a job interview, obviously they need to learn how to dress properly for that occasion. Or if they're going to a wedding, obviously you need to wear a suit and tie. If you're a guy, if you're a woman, then you need to wear a dress. So teaching people how to dress appropriately for the right scenario or situation is very important. It's also telling the tribe to get comfortable. So I have a good example of this. I have a friend who is an INTP. I went to a meetup with Dave and Shan back in Seattle, and I think they did type him as an INTP, which is pretty obvious to me since I grew up with him, and he's definitely someone that is extremely self-above tribe. And he's someone that's learning how to use SF Blast. So one time I went to stay over at his place in Seattle, and his place is super freaking cold. It's so cold that I have to bring my own heater to his place to warm myself up. And when he saw me putting my hands on the heater as if like I'm warming myself, like as if I'm a homeless person, kind of putting my hands out on a drum that is burning to warm myself up, he said, "That looks very wrong. Here, drink this tea to warm yourself up." So he's telling me how to get comfortable by giving me this tea. And that's one way to practice SF Blast. It's also correcting a tribe when they are acting socially unacceptable and teaching them the proper etiquette. And it's important to also explain the social repercussions of not being socially acceptable. So that's why SF Blast is important, because you might get tribe hate by acting inappropriately at the given moment. It's also telling the tribe the do's and don'ts of social engagement. So I'll give you an example. One time I visited a friend who lives in Finland, and he is a Chinese guy who married a Finnish girl. And when I was visiting them, he had a coworker who is gay, and he told me that because he's gay, I should refrain from saying certain words that might offend this person. Obviously, I know that. I'm not stupid, especially because I'm a double decider. I get it. But I think because he is that savior SF Blast, he felt compelled to tell me what the social rules are when engaging with this person. And the last but not least, it's also telling the tribe how to make their home look nice. So for example, if you have a friend or family member and you go over to their home and something looks off and you have an idea on how to make it look nicer, then you can give them your advice on how to make their home look much better. So basically, SF Blast is pretty straightforward, but it does take time to understand how it works if you have it in a demon state. So the first lesson would be to use your NT to kind of understand how SF works. And once you know how SF works, then you can teach your tribe how to SF better.